Hello everyone, this is Marta Szlubowska with my channel here, Musical Moments with Marta, and this is a series called Musical Solutions. I'd like to continue with the Bruch Violin Concerto number 1 in G minor, and somebody requested it recently. And if you would like to watch any other of my classes, please go to Musical Solutions on this channel, and you're going to see a lot of different pieces recorded there as well. So let's start with the first movement, and I'll probably do the exposition today. On the next video, we'll go on to the next part of it. So the G minor Violin Concerto by Bruch is a beautiful romantic piece, early romantic piece, kind of middle romantic, I guess. And it's one of the most popular probably among violinists. It's not a really big piece, not really long, but it's very virtuosic, and it's also very lyrical. So the opening starts with the timpani tremolo, and then we have woodwinds play kind of a slow chorale. And so after several measures of that, violin comes in with a little cadenza, or like a little introduction cadenza, and it's marked ad libitum. So I'm using the international edition. Let's see, from 1962 it says, and the arrangement is by, the fingerings and all that edition is by Zino Francescati. So of course we are going to do our own thing in some way, some places, because it's just one artist that has certain preferences. So I have my own preferences, so you take what you like and leave what you don't like. So here's the opening of the cadenza at the beginning. So we open with the G string. So there are very different ways of starting it, different interpretations. It does say forte, and then there's a diminuendo after 4 beats. But it's kind of a long note, half note. So we can just give it nice big tone. Sorry, I was thinking about a different melody in my mind. Okay, so as you can see, I start with a big sound, and I'm using the bowings that are in here, and Francescati puts in a couple of slides, which I like. I think those are kind of standard. You can take them or leave them on the F sharp, because it's an appoggiatura, it's a suspension from below. So I think he's just trying to emphasize that. So you can take all your time on this first note, whatever you want. But it's a story. Then crescendo. Crescendo. And probably a diminuendo here. So the next comes in woodwinds, and this time it's the same melody, same chorale, but it's in a different chord combination, and it's also getting louder. So then the next entrance, the violin has in measure 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're now going, so this was G minor, now it's going to E flat major. So this one, the first one he marks a solo ad libitum, so at your preference. This one he marks solo with the fermata. So however you want to interpret that, how different that is. It's basically the same idea, it's a cadenza. So you are free to do what you want with it. It's definitely, the first note is definitely long, and it has sound decrease of some sort, probably. And it's the same pattern. Again, it's a half note, but this time with the fermata. And this one is also forte, but for in a way, because the orchestra has already crescendoed and gotten louder. The first statement of orchestra is pianissimo. The second one is crescendo, and I don't know if there's a forte, but there's swells and all sorts of things in measure 9. So then this is more dramatic, right? So you can do it the way it's printed. And then he goes into this flaring up scale with the crescendo and stringendo. So that's, again, it's an improvisatory kind of thing like cadenza would usually have. So you can do what you want with this bowing here. I'm in third position, by the way. But I usually go down, up, down. Now this one, I have done different ways. I have done it ending softly, and then somebody convinced me to go into the next part, because the next section at 11 is fortissimo from orchestra. So it's still the same motive. Now this time is going to be introducing the first theme. So this is really the beginning of the movement after those introductions. So going back to that previous measure, I hook after the scale. I'm in fourth position here on that E flat in measure 10. Shift. Then I kind of emphasize these F sharps because it's an appoggiatura. So the suspensions, it's important to make them come out a little bit more. So I hook two of those slurs. First one, then I do up, another up, and then I end down bow. And I've been ending it with a kind of a crescendo going into the orchestra. But it's marked in the music with ritenuto and going down to pianissimo. So you could finish it that way. And then the orchestra being a big contrast to that. So as you can see, my light is kind of interesting here. We have some windows here that the sun is setting. So the light will be changing a little bit. I apologize for that, if that bothers you. Okay, they're going to measure 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 is where the solo comes back again. And this is now the main theme. So this is kind of a nightmare for musicians, for violinists a little bit, because there's all these double stops, especially for students who are not expecting. They think, oh, Bruch concerto is one of the easier concertos, but then you got to play all these double stops in octaves and then later chords. So here's the third. So we have B flat and D. It's marked fortissimo marcato. So you can start it up bow. I've been starting it down bow, just giving it more opening energy. You know, it's easier to do it on a down bow. And if you want to do it up bow, that's a challenge in itself. So go for it. So I break the chord before the beat. Right? Then, so we have, these are also kind of a nightmarish a little bit for students, especially. In measure 18 is when you have to play the 7 notes, and then get to that third beat on time. They have the hardest time doing that, students do, who are first learning this. So sometimes I would encourage them to start the septuplet, 7 notes, a little bit earlier, if they need to, in order to get to that B flat on that third beat. So if you have to start it before that second beat, that's okay too. 1. And a lot of actually concert artists also start a little bit early. So otherwise you cannot really hear all the notes, and it's nice to hear that arpeggio pronounced really nicely, really clearly. So don't be too worried about starting because that's really fast, and it's not always possible to play it really well in that exact rhythm. So if you want to start that septuplet a little early, that is forgiven here. And then make sure you land on the third beat on time. so you have accents here. So it takes a lot of energy. It's a very dramatic opening. Then the next entrance, measure 20, we have a broken chord. Now this one has to be up bow because we have to, it would be good to arrive down bow on the next measure. So, because I suppose you could do that, but I start up bow. It's a long note there. So again, more double stops. So you may know from my previous videos how I like to practice double stops. That is usually playing on one string at a time, but fingering both notes. So, and then I would also repeat each note. So I would go, and then I would probably come back. And then once you get that lower note in tune, of course being aware of the top note, whether it's a minor or a major sixth, then you go the top note. Then you can do both, etc. Okay. The next measure is measure 24, the next entrance, and that one is the hardest for all of us because we're going from second position to sixth position. So 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So very dramatic. Again, you have to have a very strong grip on that third, and also being on 2 strings. Nice strong near the bridge. And then we break the chord in measure 25. So like team ta-dam bayam. I just think of it as an 8th note broken. The 2 open strings, the bottom would come like an 8th note before the top. So that gives a world drama. Okay, the next measure is another one of those challenging septuplets in measure 26. And it is also, this one is even worse than the first one because you have more shifting, more position change. Well, maybe not shifting, but you do have to go up. Yes, you have to shift on an open string. So up in the air, but still you have to move your hand. So this one goes up higher. And again, you're allowed to start that septuplet a little bit early so you can get to that 3rd beat on time. I always circle that for students because that D on top in measure 26 has to be on time. That's where the orchestra, you join with orchestra, and that's where you can really stabilize that rhythm. So concrete the rhythm. So let's say, sorry. So I started early. It's very tricky there. More accents again. Tararam papam, pararam papam. Even that rhythm at the end of 26 could be almost double dotted there. Needs to be very, very crisp. Okay, and then we go into octaves. So if let's measure 27, then we gotta go to an octave. So I would just use 1st and 4th fingers, but just like all the other double stops, tune 1 string at a time. So start with the bottom. In fact, the bottom is usually the one that needs to be a little bit stronger, so you can focus on something. Okay, so the octaves are octaves, you know, you gotta practice them. I practice them like that. Just back and forth, and then you can play the top note. So you know both ways how far the hand is moving. And then you have some sforzatos. You're going to make sure that that double stop. Well, actually, mine is down bow, sorry. Now, here's another spot that causes problems for students rhythmically. This piece is full of rhythmic tricky little places. So he writes in, what he really does is he writes in these accelerandos, the speeding up, naturally through the note values. So in measure 31, we have on the second beat, and then we just have a 16th note. But then he wants to speed up without just writing accelerando, so he puts in more notes per beat. So we have 10 notes now for 2 beats instead of 8. So how do we deal with that? Well, my suggestion is to do 4 and 6. So you can go, measure 32, you can go 4 notes per beat, and then 6. Okay, so. And once you get that right, eventually it will kind of become, because we'll be thinking more in 2 beats to a measure instead of 4, possibly. That way, those 10 notes can be just like one big beat. But until you get there, you've got to make sure that you have each beat a designated amount of notes. So in measure 32, I would go 4 16th notes on one beat, and then 6 16th notes on the next beat. Even though it's written as 10, it's way too ambiguous, right? And then the next beat, I do something kind of fun. If you are up for it, I do an octave, 2 octaves. So I go, because then we have octaves after that. So why not get ready for those octaves? So for me, writing this one and then trying to play now, that's most likely will be out of tune. So I think it's more dramatic, and it also sounds better, and it's easier. I think, I don't know for 100% for everybody, but I think it's easier to get that octave from the bottom, and then you already have it. Okay, so we had all these octaves. Again, practice them on one string at a time, maybe 2 notes at a time, back and forth. Then you go down. Be patient. So just back and forth, and I slur them so that you hear the connection, and you also help your left hand slide rather than jump and be tense. So you just gently slide back and forth with your whole hand. Okay, and now this is probably the hardest section in this movement. One of the hard parts is the chords in measure 34, and you have to practice those again. Double stops, single notes, double stops, and then triple notes. And then you also have to understand what chords you're playing. So we have a lot of suspended chords. Not all the notes are part of the chord, but they still have to be played and understood. So the end of measure 34, when we have the first chord, see that this chord, you see that this is a G minor, G, D, B flat. So B flat gets misplaced, put it in the middle, B flat. So that's our G minor chord. But the one before that is also kind of looks like G minor, except the top is a C. So that's the suspension, right? That's the appoggiatura. But you have to know that it resolves to the G minor. So that's your arrival point. So if you know that the C is not part of the chord, it's a dissonance, then it's easier to tune it up. Then the next chord, measure 35, we have to shift. So this was in 3rd position, then we have to go down to 2nd position. Most likely, those are my fingerings. So we go 1, 2, 3. So another another suspended chord, right? Because we're going actually to, this is the arrival chord. So what chord is that? Can you guess? Well, I'll tell you, it's D minor, because we have D, A. You look for the fifth, so we have D and A, and we're missing that F in the middle. So the F is on the bottom, right? So we misplaced it. So we go D, F, A. So that's how you find your chords. Okay, now, the B flat, again, is not part of the chord. It's a suspension or appoggiatura. Right? So I'm playing different rhythm, but see how that resolves from the appoggiatura. Okay, the third chord in measure 35. Let's see. Oh, I think I'm playing wrong fingers. Let's see. No, that's correct. I just didn't write in something here. Okay, so the next chord is tricky because we keep the F down, the first finger. So what happens next? I would keep that first finger down, but then you have to put the second finger somewhere else, and that note that was placed with the second finger, that D, is now going to have to be a third finger. See what I mean? So so you could just even practice those. It's the same two notes, but first is the first and second finger, and then it's first and third finger. It has to sound the same, all right? So that's tricky. So you could practice substituting. See how I'm substituting from second to third. So you could practice that. Because then the G sharp is needed, second finger for the G sharp on the E string. Okay, so let's see. Sorry. Okay, so good news. We have two chords in a row and they repeat. It's not perfectly in tune yet, but I'm just showing you that G sharp now has to go to A. So we're gonna have to twist our third finger down, flatten it, so we can play that fifth, D and A. That's the fourth chord in measure 35. Okay, so we are now down to the fourth beat because these have repeated. I don't know why I wrote first finger in there. I think that's a mistake. All right, and we only have 6 chords left. Okay, now the D stays with the third finger. The G sharp now is misplaced. So I didn't tell you what these chords were. So we went to D minor, which we already had before. So we have D minor, D minor. Every time you have that D and A fifth, you have that D minor chord come back. And then the G sharp on the bottom, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th chord in 35, you go to G sharp, and you have an open E. Yay, open E. The only problem with open E is it can whistle, so you just have to catch it real good. Okay, so we have another repeated 2 chords, so that's good news too. So once you hit that first, then it's just repeated. It's not very easy, but at least you know mentally that it's repeated. So we have, so again we have some appoggiaturas, and the arrival point is the last chord of 35. What chord do you think that is? You have a D, F, and then you have an A. So another D minor. So we keep going back to D minor, and then the downbeat of 36. The first 2 chords are repeated. See how I kind of, I keep the 3 down, but I have to change the others. Let's see. Yeah, the bottom has to go up a half step. I don't think you can slide that. I don't know, let me know if you slide it. But I think I lift those fingers, except for the third finger on the D. And then we have 2 more chords and we're almost done. Measure 35, the third and fourth chords. Okay, so this one, what chord do you think that is? Do you see the fifth on the bottom? A and E? Well, what goes in the middle? C sharp. Then we misplace C sharp and put it an octave lower, and we have an A major chord, which is a dominant in D minor. We've had all these D minor chords. Well, you know what happens in exposition of a concerto or any sonata form, we have tonic and dominant. So we have the first degree and fifth degree. And the keys, that's how the composer modulates. It goes from one key to another to the middle of the piece. And usually the second theme is in that second key. In this case, it's yet different. But he does go to D minor, which is the fifth degree of G minor, which is the original key. Okay, so the third and the fourth chords in measure 36 are A major. And then, what chord is that? A, F, D. Can you put them in thirds? D, F, A, right? F, A. So misplace the octave, turn it into a chord, a triad, 2 thirds in a row, and then you have a D minor. And then the next one, so that one, again, there's some problems with rhythm here. Students often have problems. I think they're so stressed about these chords, then they forget about the rhythm at the end, once the chords are done. So just make sure that you play the correct rhythm there. It's a syncopation, right? So make sure that the chord is broken before you hit that C, which should be on the syncopated 8th note. So break it really quick right before that C. Or I guess you could hold it. Then I go down to D string, third position. Then another problem here occurs sometimes. Rhythm, more rhythm. This piece is full of rhythmic surprises. I don't know why this particular piece, but I've encountered many college students having problems, any students, but college also, with the rhythm here. So it says largamente espressivo, but don't worry about that. First, make sure that you have the triplets from duplets before, translated, you know, that you have the same beat. So pum, 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 those are the chords, right? Pum, 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 pum. Dum, pum, 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 pum. So you gotta have the same quarter note beat. Those triplets are pretty quick. So that's why it says largamente, I think, espressivo, because it's very easy to go, you know, they would be quite quick if they were right in time. So. This would be the strict team, tom, ti, ta, ta, team. But you can take a little bit of time, broaden it, and just make sure that you practice translating those duplets to triplets correctly first. Then you can stretch them a little bit, but don't overdo it. And then measure, so it kind of goes to G string in the middle of measure 37, and then it stays on the G string all the way to the ritenuto and a tempo. So measure 39, we're now going into 39. I would go to third position there. And I do 3 here. It says 4. I do 3. And there is a misprint, I believe. The last 2 notes, the last 2 mordents before that D in measure 40. I think it should be B and C sharp, not D and E like it's printed in my part. So it's printed, but I've never heard it that way. I've heard it B, C sharp. Okay, so, and you can separate those if you feel like dramatic, extra dramatic. So, okay, I didn't realize this first page would take this long. So we have another 3 full pages to work on this first movement, and I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Please let me know if you have any questions and comments. What do you like about this piece? Are you working on it? Anything you would like to tell me is welcome here. any suggestions from what I said. Oh, I do different fingerings. Oh, I like this way. I would love to hear from you. And I'm going to be having some other videos on the side so you can watch. And also throughout the video, you can catch some other links if you're interested. So today I am continuing the Bruch Violin Concerto in G minor. This is the second page in the violin part, which is usually the second theme in this particular edition. This is the international edition, edited by Tino Francescati. But I am changing a lot of things, but this is where I'm starting, is with the Francescati's edition. So let's talk about the second theme. If you have any questions along the way, of course, please let me know. You can put in the chat, not in the chat, in the comments, you can put the minute whenever I talked about something, if you have any question. And also you'll be able to find different videos along this video up in the eye in the sky, so to speak, as well as at the end of the video. So let's get started. The second theme, it is in B flat major, because as you may know, the second themes in sonata form is done, it's a relative major if the original key is minor. If the original key is major, then usually the second theme is in the dominant, so on the 5th degree. But in this case, we're going to the major, relative major, which is B flat major, which is a beautiful key, 2 flats. This section here, I find when I teach it, students seem to get a little bit lost with the rhythm. I am not sure why, but it may sound a little bit maybe ambiguous, the way it is written or how it sounds with the accompaniment. But be sure that you know the rhythm accurately. So I would encourage you to really study the rhythm accurately, and then you can do some espressivo things and some rubato things, which some of them are marked. Some are maybe a little too many, in my opinion, like, for example, in measure 50, there's a ritenuto. I think the composer may be intending it to last for a couple of measures, because the actual ritenuto feels like it should be in measure 51. So that's where I do mine. I just cross out the one in measure 50. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's do measure 45 is when the violin solo comes in again after orchestral tutti. And of course, this is a romantic piece, so the tuttis are beautiful and lush and virtuosic. So now we are entering on an F, which is the 5th of the B flat chord. So we have this B flat chord coming up, and it is marked espressivo, solo espressivo, mezzo forte. So the orchestra has come down into this beautiful solo. So it's an F. Okay, so that's the first part of the phrase. And you see already there's a lot of dynamic indications. In measure 46, 7, 47, there's a crescendo. It's all supposed to be on one bow, but I've changed the bowing. So I started down bow, like you saw me do in measure 45, at the end of 45. And then I need to change the bowings in 47 due to the fact that there is a crescendo there. So if I start, instead of starting, I could do it that way, but I don't like that measure 46 going down bow, because then it doesn't give me enough power to make that crescendo in 47. So I like the down bow. You just have to be careful how you start that down bow, nice and soft. So then you have forte and 48 with the crescendo. And of course here it would make sense to make a diminuendo toward the A. But then it goes on. And I go up to second finger there in measure 51. You can do a little portamento. And I like, the fingerings here are also asking for that. So, and then on the same bow, there's an accent on the next note and a position change on the same note. So it's an expressive way of fingering. So 2, 2, and then 4. So you have to be very flexible and be able to slide. So, okay, so there's a way to practice this. I saw somebody just recently doing the same thing, which made me aware that it is a kind of a common exercise. But so if you have a second finger on a C and then you want to go to a fourth finger on the same, first of all, you're in third position, fifth to third position, but you can keep your wrist resting on the body of the instrument, on the bout. So that helps. And then you can practice, instead of going to a 4, go to a 3. Can you go to a 3? So on the same slur, go 2, then 3, then 4, on the same note. And actually that's a good practice for shifting, except in this case we're kind of, I wouldn't call it a shift because the arm is not moving along with it. So it's more of a substitution. But if you can't go to a 4 immediately and play in tune, and your wrist is stiff or something, play 3 first. 2, 3, 4, and go back. 4, 3, 2. So you can practice like that, back and forth. That's a good exercise. So measure 51 once again. And I just played out of tune after all that practice. And then there's an accent on that C. There's a little portamento actually in the part written, probably by Francescatti. So 3. So that's measure 52. Molto espressivo. And then I do a slightly different bowings that are in here. And then I go 3 notes on a down bow. Then I go 3 notes up. I like these swells a little bit to be clear. You want to always be clear what you're doing with dynamics. Don't be afraid to show things. And he puts accents in here, and I don't know if these accents are Bruch's accents. Well, regardless, they're espressivo accents. They're not like really hard, but just more of an espressivo. But we're still in the entire time we're on the D string, right? And then we have 5 notes. So make sure that you play that pretty much in time. Don't stretch it out too much or don't go too fast. Now we have triplet. So I go in measure 54, I slur 3 notes on B. We have another portamento here, like a small one between B flat and A, 3, 3. This time I start triplet on an oboe. It's another crescendo. So the phrase is building and building and building until we get to 56, to that first trill. The orchestra continues, and then it keeps growing, but the violin part is more of an accompanying line by that time. So this is measure 54 again. Okay, so make sure that's in time. Again, students that I've taught before have often misunderstood these rhythms. I think partly because the bowings are kind of over the beats, If that causes you problem, make sure you practice with the metronome at least at first so you understand the rhythm. And I know it's all dolce and everything, and everybody just wants to stretch all these rhythms, but make sure that you play correct rhythm. So I play open E here. So I'm on the E string. So now I'm a lot louder, right? Naturally. 2, 3. Let's see, what do I do here? Then I hold 2, 3, 4. Okay, here's another crazy place. So I don't think there should be any questions about the trills. Just make sure you're in time without any kind of mordents, just a trill. Then measure 58, 59, and then this is a crescendo. So this note, the second half of measure 6, 7, 8, 9, 59, you must save your bow, because then you have to connect, at least that's what my bowings are. You have to connect to the downbeat of 60, but there is an accent, and that's the peak in addition to the next note as well, the A flat, high A flat. But this is the peak of the phrase, so you can't die there. You can't use up all your bow. You could do more bows, I suppose. I don't, but 3, 4, right? So you could go, I suppose you could separate them. But I like that bowing. I think it's intentional to have it connected to the downbeat of 60. So that E could be slower. That will pick up to 60, right? And then we have accent. So this is the climax of this whole phrase. There may be another climax. I'm not sure if that one's bigger than this one, but in any case, this is a longer climax for 2 measures, right? So measure 60. Again, check your rhythm here. So what the problem is sometimes is students get confused because of that slur into 60, and then the rhythm goes out the window for some reason. So the trill into 59 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, right? 1, 2. So you have to accent that up a little bit more, and then go on to the triplet. Dum dum pa pa pam pam pam. So you have to get to this third beat of that measure on time. So this would be a perfect place to practice with a metronome. And probably come down a little bit here. I do. And then we have un poco più lento. So ritenuto un poco più lento. So we have pulled back the tempo. And now it could be a little bit more relaxed for a minute. Here's another one that I slur in. You don't have to do that, but okay, so here's another peak that we're getting to. All right, so 62, I don't know if you have any questions. I actually divide them. Separate. So I separate those first 2 notes of the triplet after, like you see, and then I separate, and then I hook these 3. Again, there's another accent, but it's an espressivo accent, molto espressivo. So lots of vibrato, right? Another quintuplet. So as you look back, you can see measure 53. If you look back to measure 53, you'll see it's the same melody, right? In the same exact beat for at least 6 beats. So measure 63 and measure 53 are the same, just an octave apart, right? At 63 we're an octave higher. But the rhythm is again the same with that quintuplet. So don't drag it out. Try not to drag it out. Again, it's an interpretation thing, but I like to be understood. If I go too slow, the conductor is not going to understand what I'm doing, even if they know the piece. So 4. So da da da. So this measure 64, you have that big group of 12 notes. I divide it into 4 groups of 3. Da 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 dum. Yeah, and then when you go through it, it doesn't have to sound like you're playing all those triplets, but you've got to feel them internally. All right. Then I slur that into the downbeat of the next measure, measure 65. You could separate it; it may be more effective. It's a little weird bowing, but I like it connected. And then the pickup is where I separate. You could slur it in. I kind of I vary that. Sometimes I go to a 4. There's an accent on that note in measure 67. So this is really that final climax. So I also find that students sometimes either rush or drag out these bars for some reason. Again, refer to the metronome, make sure that all these divisions and all these subdivisions are in your head, starting with the metronome, but then getting it in your head so that you can always feel that pulse. Because otherwise, playing it with accompaniment, orchestra or pianist is going to be a nightmare. They won't understand you. Measure 69, then it gets calmer. So after that second peak at 65, 6, 7, 8, then we come down in 69, very dolce. Right? There should be a tied note. The next 2 beats should be tied together. So it becomes like a quarter. So there's a big portamento going into that. Again, continue thinking about the rhythm. Another quintuplet. And here I kind of vary the fingerings. And 4th position is fine. 2, 3, 4, 1, pa-pum, pum-pum. Okay, so we're going to stop here at the end of the second theme. And on the next video, I will continue with the development section, which is very, very exciting, full of virtuosity. And it's a wonderful, wonderful place that leads to a very famous tutti in the orchestra. So I hope you will come back and follow me through that section. So we have now finished the first movement of Bruch Violin Concerto. We are at the end of measure 73. So we have now entered tempo 1 for the next video. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know if you have any questions. Again, there will be videos in the sky and the eye in the sky. Oh, that was funny. Sky in the eye in the sky. And also right now at the end of this video, you'll see some other videos. The first part of Bruch, first movement is there, as well as some other choices. So we'll see you next time. So we're going to continue in measure 75, where we have the development section. And if you would like to see, which I would recommend to see the rest of the Bruch, the first 2 parts, this is the 3rd part as I mentioned, up above you're going to see a link to that first video. of the Bruch. So let's get on to it. So this is now the B flat chord we were attempting to play here. So we are, the piece is in G minor, as I said. So in development section, you're going to hear a lot of different keys. And it kind of starts with a bang, with a big chord, B flat major. So I play that in second position, and then I hook that. So I start at down bow actually. It's marked up bow in this edition, which is the Francescati International Music Company edition. But I like to play it on the down bow. It gives me more power to start there. And then, of course, the fifth is always going to be challenging. So do your best to wiggle your finger. I'm doing it with the second finger. Again, I like it better than the first finger. And then we are continuing with the E flat minor chord, E flat, B flat, and then we go to G flat. So he already introduces some unique keys. And then we have an arpeggio that is always notorious for intonation with students and making sure that you understand what the chord is. So we have G flat, so if you can try to figure out what chord this is go backwards. So it's a fully diminished chord. In each, there's 3 octaves. So first one, this is measure 77. So it's not grouped that way, the way he writes it, because it's kind of an improvisatory, as you know with this piece, there's a whole bunch of improvisatory type arpeggios. It's a very fantasy-like kind of piece. It has a lot of, he wants to make it sound really almost impulsive and passionate, right? So, but we have to tackle these chords first. So, so as I said, it's a diminished, fully diminished chord. It starts on G flat and up at the top, but the root of it is A natural. So if you go G flat, so that's 1 octave. Then I continue the next octave, and then the next octave, and then jumps to G flat. So this little dramatic finish. Okay, and then we have different bowings, of course, and the rhythm is not what you would expect. So 1. Let's try again. 1. Sorry. Then we have 2 separate, and then there's 5 notes. So that little shift here, which I need to practice as well, I would go up to 3rd position, which is that first pivot, the first finger goes up to a C, because G flat is really more of a reach, unless you want to do, which that's what I am actually doing, is playing it in 4th position. So so I stay 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's not 3rd position, it's 4th position. You could go, you may be familiar with the pivot notes when you shift. When you shift to the next position, the pivot note is the note that the old finger has to go to get into that next position. In this one, it's very interesting because you want to go to the 3rd position, which is a C, and then G flat, but that's not quite right. So you should go to a D really, because we're in 4th position. But the G flat make it sound almost like we're in 3rd and a half position. So you can decide whether you want to go to a C or to a D. I don't think I've ever done to a D, because that G flat is kind of low in that. But that's where it arrives, right? In measure 78, it arrives on a D. So that may be a good idea. I never thought of it that way, but... And then we have a B flat chord. So again, a fifth. So practice that one note at a time. Then the double stop. For sure the top two. And the fifth. And then also the bottom two. So it's really a 4-note chord that's been broken apart. Okay, let's go on to the next part. Then we go up to an F. Okay, so if you can guess what chord that is, let's look at it. F. Do you hear the chord there? So it's B flat. If you go backwards, it's B flat, D, F, A flat. So this is a B flat 7, B flat major chord with a 7th. Then it goes to the next octave, the same thing, and then again, except the last note, it's not a B flat, it's an A flat, so he can go to another chord. So this one is all separate. That previous arpeggio, which was in measure 77, I really didn't talk about the rhythm, but you have to know exactly how many notes go into each beat. I know often people who begin learning this piece have trouble with the rhythm there at the end of 77, but you just have to make sure that you fit 5 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then ta-ta-tam, ta-tam, ta-ta-tam, ta-tam. So make sure you line it up. I sometimes put lines for each quarter beat in a measure, so I can really see how things line up. And then eventually, of course, it's going to go fast, but that is an advanced level of playing this piece. So going back to measure 79, you could even accent these notes so you know where each beat begins. And the usual practice, I would go rhythms. Then you can go reverse. Let's see. Now this one actually ends up on an up bow. In measure 80, I end up on an up bow. So this is measure 79. So then we can play the chord on a downbeat, down bow. Now here, Francescatti writes second position for this chord. I don't know, I prefer it in first position. It may be stronger in second position. So again, consider both, depending on your hand. And then, measure 81, the arpeggio now goes up. So all the other previous two went down. And as you remember, measure 77, we had a fully diminished chord, which you have to tune up, make sure you understand it, starting on an A. And measure 79 was a B flat 7 chord, which you also have to tune up. There are 3 octaves. And now we are going to measure 81, which will be, check all those notes. So this time we have 3-note arpeggio, B, D, F, and then another B, D, F. Except now we have the 4th note. So you see what I mean? So B, D, F, A. So if you can hear that diminished chord again. I stopped in the middle. I wanted to let you know, take a little pause and let you know, up above you're going to see the video for the second part of Bruch concerto that I did in the past, and that's going to be starting with the second theme. So if you'd like to jump from here, go back to the second theme, you can see that video up above. So let's continue now, measure 81. One more time, it's diminished. These first three notes is B diminished, but then it's even 4 notes diminished. So he adds that A flat, which is beautiful. I think that beautiful A flat. So we're on an up bow there. That's what I'm doing. I start on an up bow, that measure. Now we have these infamous octaves, right? Okay, so how do you practice octaves? Make sure that you can hear bottom voice first in tune. So don't try to play both and try to tune each one separately and get all confused. Especially since you just had a top A flat, now you're gonna go the bottom. And play that bottom. I finger the top notes, and they're gonna change from octaves to sixths and then fifths, so the intervals are going to change. But we're going to play through measure 82 only on the bottom string, which is an A string in this case, but fingering both notes, both A and E strings. So we're gonna go like this. And going on a little bit. Okay, so I went into measure 83, and as you can see, I played only the A string, but I'm fingering both notes. So it's very simple that way, right? Very easy. And don't worry about the top note, just try to play it where it belongs. So for example, the beginning of 82, let's see, we have the A flat, G, then goes down to E flat, up on top, right? So that would be second finger. And when you shift, just slide. So it would slide down to 2 on the C. Then we have the fifth, which would be first finger on C and G. But I'm only playing the top note now. Third finger on E flat in measure 83, and then C. So, I may be confusing you, but I was just trying to show you that the top note is also important, but we're going to start with practicing the bottom voice. But the top voice kind of has to be there. You have to know what fingerings to use and all that. So, see, that's why the G repeats. The G repeats, but the top changes to an E flat. Right? So we're back in measure 82. So that kind of simplifies things and takes one problem at a time. So practice the bottom voice, then practice the top voice, and then eventually you can practice both. But slowly, separately, find the ones that are the most tricky for you. So maybe the shift. On the third beat of measure 82, for example, you go from a minor sixth, which is G and E flat, to a major sixth. So the finger distance changes, right? It starts like a half step, and then it stretches into a whole step on the next one, which is the E flat and a C. And then going on, goes down to a fifth, which is one finger, then goes across to 2 and 3 in measure 83, and then goes down to first position on E flat and a C. Okay, so these are not the hardest ones. The harder ones were actually in the exposition, so please be sure to watch that first video. All right, so before we go on, I have one more video I want you to watch for. Up above, it's going to be the musical solutions. It's a playlist, so if you'd like to see any other concertos, that's where you can find them. So they'll be right above my head right there. All right, so let's finish this section. We're going to go to measure 83. So measure 83 is, as I said, has those double stops. Then I hit an open D, D, C, and B flat. So kind of a suspenseful chord, right? Very wide. So B flat, C to B flat. Remember, you have an open string, so tune to that. And then tune to. And then the B flat goes down to A flat. Resolves. And then it continues to the same one. Now, the most difficult part begins with the chords. So dealing with the chords is challenging because you have to deal with the left hand, which is most important. At first, of course, you have to find all the notes and the shifting and changing intervals and all that. And also it takes strength. And then you have the right hand, which in this case has to hit 3 strings simultaneously. So we have 2 problems, or challenges, if you want to call it that. So then the second chord of 84, we also have to understand the chords. And we have to understand which notes change and which notes remain the same. And if there is any patterns that repeat. So let's look at that. So the second note, if you can analyze with me, we have E flat, C, and G. If you put the E flat in the middle between C and G, you have an arpeggio. You have the root position of a chord, which is C, E flat, G. Okay? Then the second one, the third one in the measure 84, we have D. Okay, that one is a little bit harder to decipher. So we have a D, C, which is an interval of a seventh, and then F sharp. Okay, so I look for, so D and C are probably going to remain in that position because the seventh is an outline of a 4-note chord, right? If you go, in this case, I'm going to answer it, the mystery here. It's going to be D, F sharp, then we're missing the A, and then we have a C. So D and C is an outline of that arpeggio, that 4-note arpeggio. So the F sharp that's up on top, if you move it down, it's going to fill in that gap. So, and it would probably should be A here, but we don't have an A, so it's just kind of unspoken. And then we have a C. So what chord is that? That's a D7. Okay, so measure 84, the second chord was C minor, and then we go to D7. So C minor to D7. C minor is, if you know some theory, is the 4th degree of G minor, and we're in G minor. The entire piece is in G minor. So C minor is a subdominant, and then the D major is a dominant. So look those up if you're not familiar with those terms, subdominant and dominant. So those are very important chords. So now we have, if you follow me, measure 84, the 4th and the 5th notes, they repeat. So we had 2nd and 3rd chord, and 4th and 5th chord are the same. So we have C minor, then we have this D7. Okay, so the issue here is with the fingerings, because even though it's repeated, the 2 chords are repeated, the fingerings are going to be different, because at the beginning of the bar, we're starting from the C and A flat, so we're just going to stay in first position. Now, in order to play this next chord, the 3rd chord, we have to play open D, and then a C will be with the 3rd finger, most likely, and F sharp will be with the 2nd finger. So then when we go on to the next one, we're going to try to stay in the same position. So E flat. So most likely you're going to use E flat with the 1st finger, and then C and G with the 3rd finger instead of 2nd, like we did the first time. So watch me now. Sorry. So 1, 2. Then we're gonna go down. C is gonna be 3rd finger and 2nd finger. So that's probably the most challenging. If you can look at my fingers, it'll be like that. First is the C minor, then the C is going to be substituted with the third finger, and F sharp is going to go underneath there. So I don't know if you can see that. The F sharp on the E string is going to be to the second finger. And then we're going to stay in that position, which is half position. See, I don't have to do a lot of movement, just a little bit, to do that third finger on a C minor chord. So C minor chord in measure 84 is the second chord and the fourth chord and the sixth chord. 1, 2, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Yes. So we have that C minor chord show up 3 times. All right? And then let's go to the 7th note in that measure, measure 84. We're going to go to G string. Same chord repeated twice. Actually, these chords are a lot easier than the ones in the exposition, so you shouldn't have too much trouble with that. It's you have an open G, then you have an E flat, and a D natural. So that's a difficult interval because it's a major 7th, so it's almost as big as an octave. So practice those separately. Practice very slowly, carefully. Okay, so, and then measure 85, we're in measure 85 now, and we just have 2 more chords. So I go down E flat, G, E flat, B natural with the second finger, and then C with the second finger. And then C on the G string is an up bow. Okay, so this is a very complicated section here, and I may go back to it on the next video just a little bit to kind of tie us over. So here we are now in the development section of the first movement. I talked about measure 84 and 85 on my last video, video number 3, and I'd like to revisit that a little bit. So I'm going to start at measure 83 and just remind you about some of the double stop practices. So in order to get those double stops to sound good, there are many different ways you can practice them. So for example, in measure 83, so we're in second position here, first finger on that 5th. Now the 5th is kind of a crazy animal of itself, so you have to make sure that your strings are in tune, of course, but then you have to maneuver your finger, whichever finger you're using. You may have to flatten it more or move your hand a little bit around. So your main gauge is your ear, of course, so you want to make sure that it is in tune. So I flatten my finger, and I hope for the best. So I do practice. Actually, another way to practice 5th is practice scales in 5ths. That is a rare thing that people do, but I remember once working on the Bartok violin concerto, and I really needed to practice those 5ths because there were a whole bunch of 5th scales. So consider that. Consider playing. Practicing scales, any kind of scale, just to get your hand and ear familiar with those intervals. Okay, another way to practice double stops that's very effective is practice 1 note at a time, on 1 string at a time. So I would actually play both notes with the fingers, but play only on this lower string. So for example, in measure 83, except then it's the 6th. So all I'm worried about is tuning those notes, right? Those lower notes. But I am fingering both. So on the first one we have a 5th, then we have a minor 6th, then we have a major 6th. Okay? So that's the first step I would take. After that, you can do the top note. After that, you can practice separate each note twice. So for example, if you're up to the point where you're playing double stops, and then go back up. I really like to go up and down the scale or arpeggio, so I know it both directions. Okay, so you can continue with that kind of idea for the next few measures, and these are now 3-note chords in measure 84 and 85, which takes a lot more work because you have to deal with basically 2 double stops. So like in measure 83, that first one with the sforzato, but this one is broken and it's only held with the top 2 notes. Well, it's a minor 7th, so again, practice just a lower voice. You can practice that with that open string. And the next one is a 6th, so again, the C doesn't change. Measure 84, we have that C in the middle on the second the second finger on the A string. That C keeps coming back for several how many notes do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times we have that C. If you can follow my drift here, at measure 83, the first time we have that C is on the 6th note in the measure, right? The 6th, 8th note. So now, the other notes around it change, so that's going to make that C react, and you're going to have some fingerings to deal with. So, measure 84, see that C? Now that C is going to turn into a 3rd finger because we have to have F sharp on the E string, which is going to be with the 2nd finger. And I already talked about that on my previous video, but just to reiterate, because it's not easy. So the 3rd note of 84 is that D7, and then F sharp. So see, my fingers are all kind of crunched up there. But the C stays the same, so you could practice just the C. Let's go, let's see, measure 84. What if you played all the notes with the left hand, but played with the bow only on the A string? So it would sound like this. This is the 3rd one here with the F sharp. It's still a C, then we have a different chord, and then this is the 3rd beat, so 5th, 8th note, still a C, but I'm changing fingerings around it, right? So it's a little complicated, but if you can listen for that C, okay, and that's it. And then the last 2 8th notes open up a little bit more to bigger intervals. So. Okay, so we tune the bottom, and then major 7, so you have an octave, yeah? And then on the 3rd note of 85 would be B natural and C natural, so I use 2nd finger, slide up and down. Okay, if you have any other questions about these chords, please message me or request another video of sorts, because this one all by itself could take a long time. A private lesson video, Zoom lessons, I do that as well. And this is so you have 2 fourths, 2 intervals of a 4th, C, F, and then B flat. So it's a little tricky for your ear, but take one at a time. Tune that one up. You could put the B flat down just so you can feel the stretch. C, C, F, B flat. So there's a little bit of a stretch there with the lower fingers. And then you can practice the top. Okay? Now the other aspect of this whole section is, of course, the right hand. So when you have the chords, you want to be further away from the bridge so you can play 3 notes simultaneously. So you could practice that just without the notes. Just you can go back and forth, but that's a little bit more rolled. So make sure your arm is nice and relaxed, but concentrated in the middle, on the middle string. But stay away from the bridge, so you have, the strings are closer together there. Okay, let's go on a little bit more, and let's go to measure 86. So now another fun section begins, which is some runs and interesting little patterns. So we have okay, this is not actually my bowing here. Let's see. That's right. Then I go down bow here and do the same. Okay, so what tricky part here is that the fingers are getting faster and faster, but still make sure that that the intonation is good. So we have all these really close half steps there, and the composer puts an accent there. So the drama kind of begins. There's a roll to it. So, and that's slurred in. Then you have to stretch. So you have a da 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have 2 triplets. So, and these are not easy because you have to deal with the higher fingers, right? The 3rd and the 4th finger. So my advice would be to do some Schradek or something with the scales that involve those back fingers as well as the lower fingers. All right. I just wanted to take a little pause and let you know about the videos that are available to you on this channel. So if you'd like to go back to the first video, I already mentioned that earlier in this video, but there's also a second video of the Bruch, of the first movement. So I'm going to put that up above, the link above, and so please check it out. Before you get into this section, you may want to check out the other parts of the movement. Okay, so let's go back. Now we are in measure 88. So now we have a chord. So whenever you think of a chord that's in a section that's so quick, you really have to be ready for the bottom 2 notes immediately. So in measure 87, we had, right? It goes all the way to, don't wait for that chord. So in this case, we have a 5th, which is a little bit difficult to tune as always, but fortunately it goes by pretty quickly. But I would recommend, again, practicing scales in 5ths to get those 5ths strengthened and strengthen your ear as well. So, and then we have an open A. So that chord goes by very quick, but I personally break them in half here. So, and it comes immediately after that run. And then we have a couple more runs. So we have some nice open strings here we can use, so that keeps the hand nice and free. Almost like a little trill. In this edition, which is the Francescatti edition, International, he puts 3rd finger on that C sharp. I don't feel a need for it personally, because we are not using 2nd finger. If there was a 2nd finger coming up in the next group, I would worry about that, using 2nd finger on the C sharp, but I personally just go, maybe because there was a 2nd finger right before, and he feels like this gets it over there quicker if you use the 3rd finger. That's what marked. It's marked as a 3rd finger on the C sharp. Let's try it. Yeah, I can see the reason. There is a little bit more connection when you use the 3rd finger, because then you can go from G to C sharp without having to make a space and have a little bit more noise in between. So I can see that. I have personally not done it before. Maybe I'll try it in the future. I kind of like it. That the 2nd finger makes your hand have to move more active. So that's a little harder. That's interesting. it's nice to discover something new. So I would practice it, if you're first learning it, practice it separate. Then you can practice it 3 notes. And recognize the patterns. Right? So you have some patterns there. I'm just checking my time here. And remember, you have string crossings. So all that is going to come into play. But go slowly first, all separate. You can do rhythms. Now this next measure, I'm going to finish, I think, at the end of this measure for this video. And then we'll go on to the next video for the remaining section of the development. All right, so measure 89, that's a tricky one because it goes by very fast. But what I do is I divide it into 2 groups. That first long 11-note passage. I divide it into 6 plus 5. So it goes like this. And then some people go, you can go either way, either 5 and 6 or 6 and 5. I like 6 and 5 because it gives me the entire, I don't know, it just seems to sound better to me. And then, so in any way you divide it, it is a fully diminished chord, so that means they're all minor thirds. And that C sharp with the 4th finger is maybe a little bit tricky. And then, so you could do like triplets, or you can do different groupings. Just come up with, make sure you know what you're doing. So like you could say one rhythm, that would be one rhythm. Then you can go, then you can go, you can finish there, then reverse. So different things like that. I also like to sometimes stop or not play all the notes. Like I could go just B flats, different things like this. So be creative about the exercises, and then eventually you're going to have to put it all in one bow. So the left hand has to be nice and quick and close to the string. And then the scale, okay. So then you have D minor harmonic, because we have B flat and C sharp D. It's interesting because it's like a D major with the minor harmonic ending. So it's a combination of strings, but you have C sharp, F sharp, okay. I need to check that one more time. So it's C sharp, C sharp, D. So it's basically a D scale of some sort with a D minor harmonic ending. But you have to be sure that you can do that last octave. And I would go up and down. And then you can add the others. Because it's 2 groups. How he writes it is a little complicated. Third beat of 89 is a sextuplet, so tam taka taka, tam taka taka. And then the last beat is 8 notes to a beat, so taka 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 tam. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1. Okay, but eventually it's going to be a smooth one bow. So let me stop here before it gets even more complicated. So this is In the development section, we are now in measure 90. So we have gone through all these interesting chords and scales and lyrical sections. So please check out those other videos before this one. This particular section, measure 90, is marked stringendo poco a poco, which means speeding up gradually. And we're dealing here with, excuse me, with the chromatic scale, which is kind of a new thing in this concerto, new element. So I finger it, I think it's a standard fingering when you go open, 1, 2, half steps, then shift, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and then you have an open string. So open, 1, 2, then shift to 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it is not lining up with the beats necessarily, but it helps keep the hand together and very accurate and crisp. Now there are other ways to play chromatic scale, which is of course 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. And that can happen from time to time, but when you have an extensive long scale that's chromatic, I would recommend using those other fingerings. So open, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, open, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, open, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And here we have a change in measure 91. I think I said this was the first movement of the Bruch. So just make sure that you know it's the first movement. And you can find the score below this video. So measure 91. Depending on what edition you have, I have the International from 1962, edited by Tino Francescati. But we always change things, and having gone through different teachers and having also come up with my own solutions and my own cognitions, you come up with your own ways as well. But if you're a student beginning and you want just to have different insights from different teachers, what I do is in measure 90, I play those 3 beats on one bow. Then I change in 91. Sorry, I was just about to talk about the fingerings here. In measure 91, we're not going to use the 4th finger anymore, because now we're going up into higher positions. So measure 91 will be like this, starting on a D, on A string, D, E flat, then open, E, then we have F, F sharp, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. Instead of 4, there's no 4, so 1, 2, 3, at least what I do, that's what I do. I think the printed fingerings here are even different. They go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. But I figured 1, 2, 3 is better for me and sounds smoother. 1, 2, 3. So starting on a G, it's 1, 2, 3. Then we have a B flat, 1, 2, 3. And then we shift again to C sharp. So then we actually end up with the same fingering that Francescati wrote on the 2nd finger on the D. So 5th position at the end of 91. 92, just a nice simple scale there. B natural. Okay, so excuse me. So we have a B natural on the 3rd beat, a little bit of an accent. So this whole thing flows very quickly. So it's important to have good fingerings, very smooth bow, so your bow is not jerking every time you change the left hand. So easier fingerings, better. Keep the left hand light. I shift down, and that's what's printed actually. Just be gentle on that shift from B natural to A flat. That's in 92. And now we're getting into something called stretto. Stretto is when you have a longer phrase, and then that phrase gets kind of chopped up into smaller, and almost sounds like the whole thing is getting faster because the fragments are smaller. So stretto comes, I think, from the fugue, when the theme gets chopped up into smaller segments. So then we have accents every beat in measure 93. And again, I'm doing different bowings than I printed here. I'm just doing 4 notes per bow. Okay, so there's a little bit of a stretch here on the F. So what scale are we here using? C minor for a moment, like C. Yeah, because the A flat takes us to a harmonic minor. So A flat, B natural, C, the last 3 notes of the scale. Another B natural, A flat. And then it goes to an E natural, which is a kind of a surprise. Okay, measure 94 then. Let me know if you need any suggestions how to practice this, but using rhythms, using different bowings, not just slurred the way you want to, ultimately. So doing rhythms, you know. Then you can go. Then you can go. Then reverse. And there's many, many more rhythms you can come up with, even yourself. You can change articulation. You can even skip notes, like you could play, just play the first note of each group, but play fingers with the rest. Then, what that does is actually causes you to listen to the outline. So like if this was in measure 93, if we have G on the first beat, then D, then B natural. That's kind of interesting. It looks like a G major chord. But behind that, we have that A flat. But it's kind of fun to kind of discover these plans behind almost the music, right? Like these tricks or hidden treasures of harmony. All right, measure 94. Actually, let me stop here, and you can now find another video up above if you'd like to check it out. The first video, I'm going to put the first video from these lessons, from the Bruch, and then you will find the other videos along the side with this video as well as below. I'm going to try to put it below the video, and you can go to the Musical Solutions playlist as well, and you can find it there. Okay, so let's proceed to measure 94. So now we have an E natural. So that brings us to another chromatic scale. So in measure 90, he had a chromatic scale starting on an open D, and then, or D, whatever, and then 94, we have one starting on E. And so the progression is getting more dramatic, right? There's more accelerando, there's crescendo, so you have to get really good at these scales so you can add the drama and the musicality of it as well. So but I'm just going through the technical aspects of it right now. It takes a long time to even talk through that. So measure 94, we have E natural. So here I'm gonna go do it two twice, F to F sharp. But then I'm going to proceed with those previous fingerings. So we're gonna be open A, then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And here in the next measure, 95, I'm gonna go to a 1 on an F sharp, and then I'm gonna go in a pattern from 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, And then I'm gonna finish the last beat, the F sharp, I'm gonna use second finger. Because that's a little bit too crowded for me. I think if you have a hand like mine, or maybe even larger, mine is not that large, but I have kind of long fingers. I wouldn't want to be doing first finger on that F sharp like Francescatti wrote. Maybe for him it was comfortable. That's really crowded. So I'm doing 2 on F sharp. That is the end of measure 95. That's the last beat. Okay, so measure 95 one more time is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. Okay, and all of that is on one bow. In measure 94, I'm going, I've actually slurred the previous beat of 93 on an up bow, so, and then I start my harmonic, chromatic scale on a down bow. And then I continue on an up bow in measure 95. And then we have arrived on that last F sharp. Finally, he does it 3 times, right? And finally, he said, okay, I'm gonna stop now and I'm gonna go on. Okay, so this is probably one of the hardest parts here to play in tune, because, so if F sharp, G, B flat, G, but now we have to go down to a D sharp. So these are all appoggiaturas, lower appoggiaturas or suspensions, whichever term you want to use, is when it's the note that is not part of the chord is being emphasized. So instead of, this would be the notes without the first note of each beat. So if I add the first note, okay, so this is like a, again, like I showed you earlier, how you could practice just playing the first notes of each beat. This is a really good one because you have to shift your first finger. I think that's what most people do is with the fingerings, is shift your first finger down a minor third. So it's gonna go, this is a second finger on the top, the first group, but then it's D sharp is first finger, then B sharp, and listen for that first note. So this is measure now 97, F sharp, D sharp, and then B flat. Okay, so I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. We are playing just the first note of each beat in measure 96. And it's similar to measure 93. It's a little bit of a different pattern, but the idea is similar, right? That you're going down. So here we're going down with the first finger, and then we have other notes to play in that position. But the first finger is the one we need to practice sliding down. So the shifting, so try not to play all of it all at once. I'll practice just that first note. Try to find those, B sharp, A, S sharp, D sharp, B sharp. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm actually here using the bowings that are printed, so it's kind of satisfying to have that accent in the middle of that bow. And then we separate these 2 notes in 97, and the last 4 I slur. So that's a diminished chord there. B flat, G, E, C sharp. I play 4th finger on the C sharp because it's closer, yeah? Okay, and then we go to D. Nice D major arrival. Okay, the next section. Okay, so let me stop here for a moment, and I'm going to put another video up above, the second video. There are 4 videos that were made before this one with the Bruch. So this is the second video now you can check out, and that means it's going to be most likely that first page, second half of the first page. I can't remember, but that's what I recorded probably there, was that that main body of the movement was like measure 20 something. Okay, but you can check out that second video up above, and I hope you will like, share, and subscribe, and check out the rest of my channel, and let me know if you have any questions. I would be happy to answer, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Measure 98. Now we're going into arpeggios. Those are fun, but they're not so easy because you have to kind of jump around, yeah? So you have to find that F sharp in 5th position. Oh boy. Okay, so I personally rely on the ear a lot. So if you don't know what that F sharp sounds like, it's going to be so much harder for you to find it. So obviously you are playing that F sharp right at the beginning of that bar, 98. It's right there, right? So now you have to copy it on the A string. The reason it's on the A string is because then we have more arpeggios to come, yeah? If you want, you could get there sooner, but I don't know, that's kind of risky. You could try playing that F sharp in 3rd position on the first beat, and then you're pretty close. I've never tried it, but it's harder to be in tune. But it may be easier to find that second F sharp. So I'm just so used to it. You just hit your instrument, right? Pretty hard, like right there, a little bit above, not like low, but kind of turned your hand. That's where the 5th position is most likely. So you just keep working on it. You can also practice sliding it from 1st position, but you know, so you know how far you're going. Because you're going from 1st position, so you could play a B, let's say, on the A string, and then find that F sharp. That's really what you should do if you're not familiar with 5th position. So, okay, so assuming you found that F sharp, let's go on. So now we have a little bit of a melody between these arpeggiated chords, but it is a harmonic section. So very important intonation. You're gonna have some squeezing, shifting things around. So I would suggest listening to the recording, making sure that you know what these chords sound like, playing it on the piano, just listening, playing along with the orchestra on the recording, but finding it on the piano and trying to play them all together. Then you have there's a lot of difficult chords, but the main thing is to figure out which notes are staying the same and which notes are changing. Just like right here, it's only the E flat that's changing, right? Then you go to C, that stays, the E flat stays. The bottom note is added on the D string now. Instead of an open D, now we have a C. And this is measure 98, by the way. So at the end of measure 98, so I would practice maybe one double stop at a time. Find the F sharp, play them together, then find the C, then find the B and the A, then the next measure, then you have B flat, and just a little bit at a time, Most of it is up there in that 4th, 5th position, right? Once you figure out the bottom notes, try to play the top 2 notes by holding the bottom as well. So you can do just double stop, then C, and I would always repeat the notes at least twice, maybe 4 times. Then you go to measure 99, you have a B, A, D, and We could go through all these chords, of course. It's important to know what these chords are as well. A lot of them are suspended chords. So they're not, they have to resolve. So, like for example, in measure 99, the B and the A, it's really a kind of a seventh chord, B, D. We don't really know what he meant there unless we look at the score. So I don't have the score in front of me, but it's a minor seventh in any case. You could play it also in first position. That's another way to practice these, is to find them in first position. The previous one would be C and F sharp, then A and B and A, then B flat. Okay, so middle of 99, we have a resolution. We go to a G minor chord, if you can see that. So we went from B, A, which is definitely a some kind of seventh suspended chord, right? Like a dissonant chord. Then we go down to B flat. See, that one is a resolution. Nice G minor, which is hard to play in tune together. Maybe my strings are out of tune, but anyway, try playing that fifth in tune. And then measure 100, we go down again to A. I use first finger, another fifth. So practice that by itself, then go to the next double stop with the F sharp. Then the next measure would be G and D. Play them separate, then play them together. So that first finger is getting a workout, all right? So little by little, you could also play just the first finger throughout that section, like from 98, just play the first finger. It will probably get a little tired, but try to find all the notes that the first finger is playing. And sometimes maybe second finger too, because we have the second finger on a C, measure 98, but then we go to 1, another 1, another 1, another 1, same note, then 1. Okay, so this section is tricky. It has many layers of practicing. So practice separate, so you're not worried about those slurs. Practice double stops, practice individual notes, just the bottom. You can practice just the top. You can practice double stops, both lower and higher. So you have a million ways to practice this. But it's also important to play it on the piano so you can find the chords. Okay, so let's say we got to measure 102, and we're now going to go real fire fast so that we can get through this section. Okay, so now we have 102, we have now the duplets turn into triplets, but now we have a tie. So I kind of like this section because it becomes, once you get your left hand frame and everything, then it's fun just to kind of wobble around with these arpeggios. Okay, so the left hand is really not that hard. It's whole steps or major sixths, right? And then E and C sharp, C sharp, B flat, which is kind of like C sharp, A sharp, right? So it's a major sixth. It's a stretched out diminished chord. So let's see, B flat. It's a B flat. I'm sorry, not a B natural. Did I say B natural? Anyway, so if you reverse this and put it in thirds, it's going to be a diminished chord. So it's B, C sharp, E, right? If you go backwards and you put them in a row. Then the next one, in measure 103, we have C sharp. Again, I'm reversing it and putting it into a little triad. C sharp, E, G, C, it's diminished again. Then the next one, again, reverse, measure 103, second half of the bar. E, G, B flat, Then the next bar, go from the top note, G, B flat, C sharp. Do you see what I'm saying, what I'm doing? I'm reversing the chord. Instead of stretched out like it looks, I'm going backwards and putting them all in one area, three notes apart from each other. So measure 102, if you go backwards, instead of going E, C sharp, B flat, it's B flat, C sharp, E, but it's going the next direction, the other direction. So it's going like B flat is the bottom, right? So B flat, if you look on the keyboard, B flat, C sharp, and E. Those are minor thirds. So this is actually the first time I looked at it that way. I knew it was a diminished chord, but, and I don't know if it's helpful to you. I hope it is. But the fact is that these are the same intervals, the same notes, and they're just progressing up and up and up. So that's why the fingerings and the intervals are exactly the same for this whole section. How many measures we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measures. 5 measures, and the last measure is a little different. So we shift up to G in measure 103, then shift up a little bit sooner. But keep that frame, keep the 2 major steps, 2 major sixths. 1, 2, 3, the same interval. As you go up, it's going to get slightly narrower, but it's still the same hand frame. So don't try to like redo it or anything, just stay there. And focus on the bottom note. Make sure the bottom note know where it's going. So E, G, B flat, C sharp. And then, okay, that one is also changing into something else. So we actually have 3 measures of the same pattern, right? Through measure 104. And then measure 105, we're changing the chord, but we're still on that C sharp, the bottom C sharp. So 104 was this chord, C sharp, B flat, G. And now we're going to go to C sharp, A, G. So the middle note changes. So instead of, it's just a half step lower. But it changes whole chemistry, right, of the fingers, because now the top note is going to be 4th finger instead of 3rd. Okay, so if you analyze this chord, look, I'm just looking at my time here. Analyze this chord in measure 105, C sharp, A, G. Do you hear it's a different chord? If you look on the piano and you play, I'm going to tell you what to do. Play A, then play C sharp, and then skip a few notes and go to a G. So that's the chord. A, C sharp. To fill the chord, we're going to need an E. So A, C sharp, E, G natural. If any of you know what that chord is, let me know. But I'll tell you the secret. It's a A7. So A dominant 7, and then we're going to D major. Okay, so we must be going to D major, which is dominant of G minor, which is our key of the piece. So, okay, so you gotta hold on to that tight and nice. You can vibrate a little bit if you can with the arm, but we have C sharp, A, and then A and G. Sorry. So if you go, whoo, my fingers got a little bit tight there. And then we're resolving to a D. So it takes a lot of strength. If you're not used to that, just go slow. So C sharp A now turns into D, A. So you're gonna have to shift up to have that 5th. So it's not an easy section. You have to have some experience with this. And then the G becomes now 3rd finger. So we have the same G from measure 104, 5, and 6. It's the same top G, okay? But in the first, in measure 104, it's the 3rd finger. In 105, it's the 4th finger because we have a bigger stretch there. And then measure 106 is back to 3rd finger. But all of that is led from the bottom with that 1st finger. So starting from measure 104, let me play slowly. Sorry, is that right? B flat, sorry. Now we change. Now we change again. We shift up to 1. And then same on that last measure, F sharp. And on the G. Wow, that took some work, huh? We're in measure 144. It's the solo ad libitum, it's that last cadenza. So we have a cadenza at the beginning of the movement, as you remember, and then this we have a similar one at the end, but it's somewhat different and also leads us to the second movement, which is another story. So let's go to it. Measure 144. Right, so we have have that open G string again, and it does not have a fermata or anything. But is there a fermata on the first one? No, it just says ad libitum. So it's basically the same thing. It's a cadenza, right? So it's time for you to solo violin. You can take some time and do rubato, etc. So this is just my interpretation of it. I am following an edition by, let's see, who is this? Zino Francescati did the editing, the fingerings, but we're all different, so I expect people to do different fingerings for different reasons. So here it is. So I personally do different fingerings, but I'm looking at this edition, international edition, and there's a 4th finger on that A, which actually works really nice because then you're right there for the F sharp. So just make sure. I encounter students often misreading this right here. This is a little different than the beginning, right? A little quicker. But then this is a space, this is separation here. And part of it is actually the fingering. If you do this fingering, you will have to pretty much stop, otherwise it's going to sound kind of odd to shift there. Well, you can do it, but I would prefer the sound with the space anyway. And gives you kind of a da-da, kind of a sigh, right? Then we have another. So I think he writes it out in 16th notes, and tara-tara-tara-tara, kind of perpetual repetition of certain notes, but going up faster and faster. So that gives you that excitement of a cadenza. So you can start it a little slower on that first couple groups beats, and then you can speed it up all the way to the E string. So I go up to 3rd position there, here, or you can go. That's more string crossings, right? I think it's smoother going from 3rd position from that first G. So this is abo. Another space. I need new strings. I'm about to change my strings today, so my E is whistling a little bit. So I'll be going a little bit, maybe going a little bit too quickly here. He does write stringendo, and you also don't have to play an open E there. So, but then you have to shift here probably. So I start the tune from below. I haven't listened to the recording in a while, but I believe that's kind of a traditional. Or you could go. I don't know. I prefer that from that C sharp. I don't exactly know why. It's almost like the continuation of that little passage. But you could also go. And this one, unlike the beginning, of course there are different interpretations. The first cadenza at the very beginning of the movement, I don't know if it's the composer or the editor is writing a diminuendo at the end of that first segment. But a lot of people do a crescendo as well. But this one, I think it makes even more sense to make a crescendo because the whole thing is getting more and more dramatic. And this is the end, and it's really more of a cadenza than the first one, right? The first one is more contemplative. Okay, so then we are in measure 145, 6 orchestra, 147 orchestra plays. It's dramatic, right? And then we have the second cadenza. Now here, it's gonna be interesting. I find it always a little tricky just because it's separate bows. And I think that makes sense to make separate. It's more crisp, right? But you have a lot of coordination to work here. So, right? String crossings. And then another separation. So we still have that same tararam, pararam, tararam, parara. He likes that motive. So hold that B flat, and then I would start a little slower, or you can go, but that's not so interesting, right? So a little bit slower. So it's the peak. We go to that peak G, the high G. So that little segment right before that slide, that shift slide, whatever, it's more of a portamento, right? Because we're doing, you could do it with the new finger, which then it's a portamento, or you don't want to be too careful because it's going to sound contrived, right? It's actually, if you were to shift from G to G on that E string, you would go to B flat, E flat, sorry. So it's 6 positions up. So we're going to 6th position. And you can practice it that way. That's definitely encouraged. So this is called a pivot note. If you're not familiar with that term, pivot note is the note that you must shift to with the old finger to get to the position where the new finger is going to just be placed, right? So in this case, we're going to 6th position, which would be an E flat with the second finger. Because we're second finger on the G, and then second finger on the E flat, and then you just place the 4th finger on the G, the high G. So that's how we would shift. But this is more of a, cadential kind of improvisatory type thing. So we would probably do a portamento, which means we would do it with a new finger. So it's more of like a high-fat slide, right? And you also have to know how far you're going. So you can either practice it slowly until you reach it, and then kind of get used to that distance, or practice the shift and then do. I don't know if practicing shift, I think practicing the shift will definitely help. I don't think I personally practice that shift, but I've been around the block a few times, so I know I can kind of improvise a little bit there. But if you're new at this, if you're fresh at this, then I would practice the shifting first. Okay, so we've gone to, and then here, this is measure 145, 6, 7, 8. 148, that long measure, that second cadenza. So we're going to stretch to the E flat. I like to go down after 1, go to second finger to the G instead of what's marked, which is on the 3rd finger. That's what they write. And actually the fingerings before are different too, so I I personally don't like that, but it's going to be something you need to try yourself. Okay, and I just changed this bowing a few minutes ago as I was preparing for this video, because I had a slur going all the way from that F, that first 32nd note. I had the slur all the way to the downbeat of 149, but then I realized that it was a little cramped. So I'm going to try these bowings that are marked here. So 2 separate, and then slur. Okay, so what scale do we have here? G minor. So we're in G minor. How did I find out? Well, we still have the same notes as the movement is in G minor. So we have the B flat. We have an E flat. Now we don't have an F sharp, which would have been chromatic. Harmonic minor. Or if we went E and F sharp, that would be a melodic minor, right? So, but we're going downward, which also could be melodic, because melodic raises 6 and 7 degree on the way up and erases it on the way down. So that could be a melodic scale as well. It goes up like this, right? And then comes back down with F natural. So this is definitely a melodic scale going down. Now we would know for sure if it was going up, and it actually is going up in the next measure. All right, so if you have any questions about the scale going down, you just have to divide it to practice it, right? So let's go. So I'm shifting, again, I'm changing the fingerings from what's written here. I go 4, 3, 2, 1. Then I shift on C, 3 notes, and then I shift again on the G. Okay, and we finish on the B flat. So just like any scale, you would practice it. I would practice it, maybe not up and down in this case, although you can. Just play it exactly the same notes both ways. Don't think of it as melodic and it would changes up or down. So play the whole scale the same way up and down. That's a good exercise. And then come back with the same fingerings. And if it's too many notes, then just go 1 octave. And then come back. Then you can slur with the fingerings that you're going to pick. Then I will shift here. Yeah, I don't think I've done that in a long time. Haven't done it in a long time, but it works. It helps when you're first learning the piece. All right, so I would do that, and then you can do some dotted rhythms. You can do separate. Very, very good to do separate notes so you can coordinate the hands and listen to all the pitches. Okay, going on to measure 149. Now this part is challenging because we're going up on the G string. Okay, so we have a C sharp. Then we have F sharp. Okay, so we go all the way to a D. And that's ideally the fingerings you should be using, since I think it's pretty traditional. So C sharp, but then E flat, F sharp. So it's still based on the G minor chord. It's an interesting scale. It's really a harmonic with that F sharp in there, but it's interesting scale. Think of each group, right? Each group of 4/16 notes. And you have that shift. Then the next group. Then the next group. And the next group. And the bowings I have, it's all slurred in, except for the last two. The C sharp and the D are on an up bow. It's going to be on a different bow there, right? So this is a slow process. If you're just learning this is a difficult passage. This is difficult. Go 4 notes at a time. You can also go position at a time. So if you go, these are that's in first position. Then you shift, play those that are in the third position together. So because that's how you're gonna move your hand, right? Then the next form. Then shift. Prepare, then start. You may be a little bit off, but it's okay. Play just those 4 notes with that grace note. You can eliminate the grace note at first if that's too much. And separate. Go separate. Another shift, prepare, and A natural there. Again, do it without the grace note first. So it's just A, B flat, and then you can add the C. And then you have a C sharp and a harmonic. So you just slide the third finger up into that harmonic. Okay, and then the same kind of pattern continues, now starting on a D. Just make sure you read all the notes correctly, all the flats. So we have D, E, F sharp, A, G, A, C natural, B flat, C sharp, E flat, F sharp, G. This is a little easier because it's in all in one position, in first position, right? And then going on. Again, watch the intonation. C, C sharp, E flat, F sharp, B flat. So there's many different ways you could practice this. You could do just the first note of each group for one measure. Then you can do the first 4 notes, 4 notes, each beat separately. Practice just 4 notes at a time, maybe repeat them even. Then the next one. It's tricky. And listen. Now come back to the 3. So it gets harder and harder. But do your best, see if you can repeat it. And then the separate bows, and you can do 2 notes at a time. Then you can practice between the shifts, like I said, just in each position. So that shifts the beat off. Like I said, in 149, you would do the first 3 notes. Then the next 4 notes. Sorry, E flat. See, I got caught in there. Okay? All right. Let me take a pause so I can remind you that you should watch the previous videos that I made about this movement. This is Bruch Violin Concerto in G minor, and this is video number 6 of the first movement. I had no idea it was going to take this long to go through it, but each video is a little different lengths. The longest one, I think, is about 30 minutes. The previous one, it was that development section that was had a lot to talk about there. So this is the last cadenza, and I thought that was going to be quick, but that's also taking a little bit of time because there's some unusual passages. So you're going to see the next video up above, video number 2, I believe, and then at the end you will see the Musical Solutions playlist where you can find all of them. So let's finish this up. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I may be skipping some things that you need answers to. Just let me know. And then we're in measure 150, so that was, I already talked through that, 151. 152 is another scale. This one is very long, and different artists add different things to it. For example, I actually like adding some octaves at the very end, and I also add an octave going into 152. So this A, I do an octave there, 2 octaves, just to dramatize it more. It's just fun. You don't have to do it. And then, so then as you hit that B flat or B flat octave at 152, you have to pretty much jump right away to that bottom G if you want it to be clear for the conductor or a pianist, whoever is going to be coming in on that next measure. Because remember, this is a cadenza, so yes. Okay, so that's what I do. Then I change on the A, 1, 1, and then I play octaves and separate. Actually go up, down, up, down. Okay, so I'm going to stop here because my tape is about to finish. So please like, share, and subscribe my channel. Let me know if you have any questions about this movement. And I'm going to be putting more videos up above. And I will see you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.